Park Do-hyun stood in the long white hallway of the Terran Diplomatic Corps building. He wore his formal uniform, the dark blue fabric pressed and clean. Around him, other officers waited for their names to be called. They talked in excited voices, laughing and guessing which alien species they would be matched with. The integration program was the most important thing to happen to humanity in 50 years. After the war ended and the Galactic Accords were signed, humans needed to prove they could live peacefully with other species. The solution was simple: marriage. Human officers would marry aliens from different worlds. These unions would create bonds between species and show the galaxy that humans were not just fighters. They could be partners, they could be family. Everyone wanted a good match. A match with a powerful species meant wealth, status, and a comfortable life. A match with a beautiful species meant admiration from other humans. People spent months preparing for this day, hoping to impress the matching committee. Do-hyun did not spend months preparing. He simply waited. The door opened and an administrator stepped out. She was a thin woman with tired eyes and a tablet in her hands. She called the first name on her list. A young officer jumped up and hurried inside. When he came out 10 minutes later, his face was bright with joy. He had been matched with a Corvani, a tall, elegant species known for their wealth and political connections. His friends surrounded him, clapping his back and cheering. One by one, names were called. One by one, officers came out with smiles. Some were matched with the silver-skinned Nethari, famous for their beauty. Others got the strong and proud Dravasi, warriors who commanded respect across the galaxy. Each match was announced like a prize. Do-hyun waited. He watched the others celebrate and felt nothing. He did not care about wealth or beauty or power. He only wanted to do his duty. Finally, his name was called. He walked into the small office and sat down across from the administrator. She looked at her tablet, then looked at him, then looked at her tablet again. Her face changed. It was a small change, a tightening around her mouth, a slight lowering of her eyes, but Do-hyun saw it clearly. Something was wrong. "Lieutenant Park," she said slowly, "your match has been determined." She paused. The pause was too long. "You have been assigned to a Velith female. Her name is Yira." Do-hyun waited for more information. The administrator did not give any. She just watched him, as if waiting for him to react. "I see," Do-hyun said. "When do I meet her?" The administrator blinked. You understand what the Velith are?" "I know of them." "Then you know they are—" She searched for a polite word. "They are not a preferred match. Their planet is dying. They have no political value. They cannot speak. They communicate only through lights on their skin. Most humans find them—" She paused again. "Difficult." Do-hyun looked at her calmly. "Is there something wrong with being matched with her?" The administrator shifted in her seat. No, of course not. It is just that others in your position have requested reassignment. It is your right to do so. We can find you a different match. It may take time, but that will not be necessary." The administrator stopped. She stared at him as if he had spoken in a foreign language. "Lieutenant Park, I want to be clear. Yira has been in the program for 2 years. She has been rejected by every human she was matched with. Every single one. They meet her and they request someone else. She is the last one left. That is why she was assigned to you. Because no one else would take her." Do-hyun felt something cold move through his chest. Not anger, something else, something sad. "She has been waiting for 2 years?" he asked. "Yes." "Alone?" The administrator nodded. She looked almost ashamed. Do-hyun stood up. "Then I should not make her wait any longer. When do I leave?" The administrator's mouth opened, then closed. She looked down at her tablet, typing quickly. The transport to Neutral Station 7 leaves tomorrow morning. She is already there, waiting in the integration quarters. Good. Lieutenant Park. The administrator's voice stopped him at the door. He turned back. She was watching him with a strange expression, something between confusion and respect. May I ask why? Why are you not requesting reassignment like the others? Do-hyun thought about the question. He thought about the young officer who had been so happy about his wealthy Corvani bride. He thought about all the others who saw their matches as prizes to be won. Because she is not a prize, he said. She is a person, and she has been waiting long enough. He left the office. Outside, the other officers saw his face and knew something was different. They asked him about his match. When he told them he was assigned to a Velith, the hallway went quiet. Then someone laughed. A Velith? Those ugly lizard things that glow in the dark? An officer named Jin-soo stepped forward. He was tall and handsome, and had been matched with a daughter of the Nethari High Council. Did you insult someone on the committee, Do-hyun? What did you do to deserve that? Others laughed with him. Do-hyun did not laugh. I did nothing, he said, and I do not see it as a punishment. Jin-soo's smile faded. You cannot be serious. The Velith are worthless. They have nothing. No money, no power, no future. Their planet will be dead in 100 years. And the females... He made a face of disgust. They look like rocks. Dark, rough, ugly rocks. You will be the joke of the entire Corps. Do-hyun looked at Jin-soo for a long moment. He saw the expensive fabric of his uniform, the pride in his eyes, the cruel twist of his mouth. He saw a man who measured the value of a life by what it could give him. Then let them laugh, Do-hyun said quietly. I am not here to impress them. He walked away. Behind him, he heard Jin-soo say something sharp, but he did not listen. He did not care what they thought. That night, Do-hyun packed his bag. He did not pack much. Some clothes, a few books, a photo of his grandmother. She had raised him after his parents died. She had taught him that the worth of a person was not in their appearance or their power. It was in their heart. She had been dead for 3 years now. He still missed her every day. He looked at the photo for a long time. Then he put it in his bag and closed it. Tomorrow, he would meet Yira. He did not know what she looked like. He did not know if they would understand each other. He did not know if they would be happy. But he knew one thing. She had waited 2 years for someone to choose her. 2 years of rejection. 2 years of being told she was not good enough. He would not make her wait another day. Do-hyun turned off the light and lay down in the darkness. Outside his window, the stars burned cold and distant. Somewhere out there, on a neutral station in deep space, a woman with dark scales and glowing skin was waiting for him. He closed his eyes. Tomorrow, everything would change. The transport ship was cold and gray. Do-hyun sat alone in the passenger cabin, watching the stars move slowly past the window. The journey to Neutral Station 7 would take 8 hours. He had brought a book to read, but he could not focus on the words. His mind kept returning to the same thoughts. What would she look like? What would she think of him? Would she be afraid? He knew almost nothing about the Velith. They were not a species that appeared in news reports or history books. They had no great cities, no famous leaders, no powerful armies. They were a quiet people from a quiet world, and the galaxy had mostly forgotten them. But Do-hyun had looked them up before he left. He had read the few articles he could find. He had learned that their planet, Velith Prime, was dying. Their sun was growing cold. Within a century, the world would be frozen and empty. The Velith who survived had scattered across the galaxy as refugees, looking for new homes that would accept them. Most places did not accept them. The articles said the Velith were empaths. They could feel the emotions of others. This ability made other species uncomfortable. No one wanted to be around someone who could sense their true feelings. It felt like an invasion. It felt like being watched. Do-hyun did not know how he felt about that. He had never been good at hiding his emotions anyway. Perhaps it would not matter. The transport docked at the station with a soft thump. Do-hyun picked up his bag and walked through the airlock into a wide corridor filled with beings from a dozen different worlds. He saw tall Corvani in flowing robes, short and stocky, Dravasi in battle armor, and pale Nathari moving like ghosts through the crowd. Humans were everywhere, too, most of them young officers like him, here for the integration program. He followed the signs to the integration quarters. The hallways became quieter as he walked. The lights became softer. Finally, he reached a door marked with a simple number. 7. This was it. Do-hyun stopped outside the door. He took a deep breath. He did not know why he was nervous. He had faced combat simulations, hostile negotiations, and training exercises that had nearly killed him. None of those had made his heart beat like this. He pressed the button, and the door slid open. The room inside was simple. A table, 2 chairs, a window looking out at the stars. Nothing on the walls, nothing personal. It was a room for strangers to meet in, and there, sitting in one of the chairs, was Yira. Do-hyun's first thought was that she was small, much smaller than he had expected. She sat very still, her hands folded in her lap, her body tense and rigid. Her scales were dark, not black, but a deep charcoal gray that seemed to drink in the light around her. They covered her completely, from her face to her hands to her neck. The scales were not smooth. They had a rough texture like stone that had been worn by wind and rain. Her eyes were large and golden with no whites around them. They looked at him without blinking. She was not what humans would call beautiful. Do-hyun knew this. He knew that other officers would see her and feel disgust or pity. He knew that she knew this too. But when their eyes met, Do-hyun felt something he did not expect. He felt recognition. It was not a memory. It was not logic. It was something deeper than both of those things, a sudden, powerful sense that he knew her, that he had always known her. That some part of him had been waiting his whole life for this moment. He did not understand it, but he trusted it. Yira's scales flickered. Small lights appeared on her skin, pale blue, dim and uncertain. They pulsed in a slow rhythm, then faded. Do-hyun did not know what it meant, but he could guess. She was asking a question. She was asking if he would leave. He did not leave. Instead, he stepped into the room and let the door close behind him. He walked to the table and stopped in front of her. Then he bowed. It was a deep bow, the kind his grandmother had taught him, a bow of respect, a bow that said, "I see you, and you have value." When he straightened, Yira's lights had changed. They were brighter now, and they flickered in quick, confused patterns. She did not understand. "My name is Park Do-hyun," he said. "I am honored to meet you." He waited. Yira did not move for a long moment. Then, slowly, lights began to form on her scales. They moved in patterns he could not read, swirling colors of blue and violet and soft white. It was language, he realized. She was speaking to him. He could not understand a single word, but he could feel something behind the lights. It was faint, like a whisper at the edge of his mind. Sadness, confusion, and underneath it all, a tiny spark of something else. Hope. "I am sorry," Do-hyun said. "I do not know your language, but I want to learn." The lights on her skin went still. She stared at him as if he had said something impossible. Do-hyun pulled out the chair across from her and sat down. He placed his hands on the table, open and relaxed. "I know that others have rejected you," he said. "I know that you have been waiting a long time. I know that you expect me to leave, like all the others did." The lights flickered, a quick pulse of dark red. Pain. I am not going to leave, Do-Yun said. I am going to stay, and I am going to learn how to understand you. I do not care how long it takes. Yira's golden eyes were fixed on him. She did not move. She did not glow. She just watched, as if searching for the lie in his words. She would not find one. Will you teach me? Do-Yun asked. For a long time, Yira was silent. The room was silent. The stars outside the window burned in the cold dark. Then slowly a single light appeared on her skin. It was gold, the same color as her eyes, and it pulsed in a slow, steady rhythm. Do-Yun did not know what it meant, but it felt like yes. He smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. Thank you, he said. Where do we start? Yira lifted her hand from her lap. She held it out toward him, palm up. Lights danced across her scales in a gentle pattern, 3 soft pulses of blue. Do-Hyun looked at her hand. He did not know what she was asking, but he knew what he wanted to do. He reached out and placed his hand over hers. Her scales were cool and rough against his skin. He felt the texture of them, the small ridges and valleys worn by time. He felt her fingers beneath his, thin and delicate. And he felt something else, a warmth that moved from her hand into his, a connection that had no words. Yira's lights changed again. They grew brighter, spreading from her hand up her arm in waves of soft gold. For the first time, her rigid posture relaxed. Her shoulders dropped. The tension in her body began to fade. She looked at him, and in her golden eyes, Do-Hyun saw something he had not seen before. Trust. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if they would understand each other, or if they would be happy, or if the universe would be kind to them. He only knew that this was right, that he was meant to be here, that he had found something he did not know he was looking for. Outside the window, the stars continued to burn. The galaxy continued to turn. But in this small room, on this quiet station, 2 strangers from different worlds sat together in silence. And for the first time in 2 years, Yira was not alone. Learning Velith light speech was not like learning any human language. There were no words to memorize, no grammar rules to follow, no sounds to practice. Instead, there were colors, patterns, rhythms, the speed of a pulse, the brightness of a glow, the way one color faded into another. All of these things carried meaning. A slow pulse of blue meant something different from a quick flash of the same color. Gold and violet together meant something different from gold alone. And it was not just the colors. It was where the lights appeared on the body. Lights on the hands meant one thing. Lights on the chest meant another. Lights on the face carried the most weight. They were reserved for the deepest emotions, the most important thoughts. Most humans who tried to learn light speech gave up within a week. It was too complex, too alien. The brain was not built to read language this way. Do-Hyun did not give up. Every morning he woke early and went to the integration quarters. Yira was always there, waiting for him. They would sit across from each other at the small table and she would teach him. It started with simple things. She would glow a color and he would try to remember what it meant. Blue for question, gold for yes, red for pain or no, green for calm, violet for memory, white for truth. Then the patterns. 3 quick pulses meant urgency, 3 slow pulses meant peace, a rising brightness meant hope, a fading glow meant sadness. Do-Hyun wrote everything down in a small notebook. He drew diagrams and made charts. He practiced at night in his room, trying to remember each detail. His head ached from the effort. His eyes burned from watching so closely. But slowly, day by day, he began to understand. At first, it was only single meanings. He could see blue pulse 3 times and know it was a question. He could see gold and know it was agreement. But after 2 weeks, he began to see more. He began to see how colors combined, how patterns layered on top of each other, how a conversation was not just words, but a dance of light across skin. And he began to see Yira, not just her scales, not just her lights, but her. The person behind the glow. She was intelligent. That was clear from the beginning. Her patterns were precise and elegant, never wasting a single pulse. She had a dry sense of humor that surprised him. Sometimes she would flash a quick pattern that meant something like, "You are wrong, but I will let you figure it out yourself." She was patient with his mistakes, but she did not make things easy. She pushed him to do better, and she was lonely. Deeply, terribly lonely. Do-hyun could not feel her emotions directly. He was not a Velith empath, but he could see them in her lights. When they finished a lesson and he stood up to leave, her glow would dim. When he came back the next morning, her glow would brighten. She tried to hide it, keeping her patterns controlled and calm, but he saw the truth underneath. She had been alone for 2 years. Every human who met her had turned away. She had learned to expect rejection, to prepare for it, to protect herself from the pain of it. But she could not protect herself from hope. One evening, after a long lesson, Do-hyun stayed later than usual. The station lights had dimmed to simulate night. Yira's scales were soft with tired purple, a color he had learned meant exhaustion. "Can I ask you something?" he said. She pulsed gold. "Yes." "What do you feel from me?" The question surprised her. Her lights flickered with confusion, then went still. For a long moment she did not answer. Then slowly, patterns began to form on her skin. They were complex, more complex than anything she had shown him before. Colors he did not recognize, rhythms he could not read. She saw his confusion and simplified. Warmth, she glowed. That was a color he knew, a soft orange gold. Then another pattern, not pity. Do-hyun felt something tight in his chest. "Other humans pitied you?" Dark red flashed across her scales. Pain. "Yes." "I do not pity you," Do-hyun said. "I respect you." She stared at him. Her golden eyes were unreadable, but her scales told the truth. They glowed with surprise, with doubt, with a tiny, fragile spark of belief. "Why?" she asked. The pattern was simple. Violet for question, with a rising brightness that meant importance. Do-hyun thought about the question. He thought about the moment he first saw her, sitting alone in this room, waiting for another rejection. He thought about the feeling that had moved through him, not attraction, not logic, but recognition, a sense that he knew her, that he had always known her. "When I first saw you," he said slowly, "I felt like I was remembering someone. Not your face, not your body, something deeper." He paused, searching for the right words. "I do not understand it, but I trust it. I feel like I was meant to find you." Yira's scales went completely still. The lights faded until she was dark, just rough gray stone in the dim room. Then, slowly, a new pattern emerged. It started on her hands and spread up her arms, across her shoulders, onto her face. It was gold, bright, warm gold, pulsing in a rhythm he had not seen before. He did not know exactly what it meant, but he knew it was important. He knew it was something she did not show to others. "What is that?" he asked softly. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she made a simple pattern. Hope. Do-hyun nodded. He understood. "I will not let you down," he said. She did not answer with light. Instead, she did something she had never done before. She reached across the table and placed her hand on his. Her scales were cool and rough. Her fingers were thin and gentle. She held his hand and looked at him, and in her golden eyes he saw something that needed no translation. Trust. From that night on, everything changed. Their lessons became conversations. Their conversations became friendship. Do-hyun learned to read not just her words, but her moods. He learned the way her lights dimmed when she was sad, the way they flickered when she was nervous, the way they pulsed slow and warm when she was happy. And she learned him too. She learned his habits, his humor, his silences. She learned that he missed his grandmother, that he felt alone among his own people, that he had never quite fit in anywhere. "You fit here," she told him one night. The pattern was simple and clear. "You fit with me." Do-Yun looked at her across the table. Her scales glowed with soft gold in the dim light. Her eyes watched him with patience and warmth. He smiled. "Yes," he said. "I think I do." Outside the station, the universe continued its slow turn. Somewhere stars were dying. Somewhere wars were being fought. Somewhere people were living their lives without ever knowing that on a quiet station in deep space, two strangers were becoming something more. They did not know what the future would bring. They did not know if the galaxy would accept them. They only knew that they had found each other. And for now, that was enough. Do-Yun's light speech improved every day. He could now hold real conversations with Yira, not just simple exchanges of words, but deep talks about their lives, their thoughts, their fears. He still made mistakes. His reading was still slow, but he was learning, and that was what mattered. They spent most of their time together. In the mornings, they would walk through the station gardens, where plants from 100 different worlds grew under artificial suns. Yira loved the gardens. Her planet had been cold and dying for so long that she had never seen so many living things in one place. She would stop in front of flowers and fruits and trees, her scales glowing with soft wonder. In the afternoons, they would return to their room and talk. Do-Hyun told her about Earth, the mountains near his hometown, the food his grandmother used to cook, the old stories and poems he had learned as a child. Yira listened to everything. She asked questions. She wanted to understand his world, and she shared her world with him. The Velith had no written language. Their history was kept in memory songs, patterns of light that encoded not just events, but the emotions of those who lived through them. Yira knew hundreds of these songs. She had learned them from her mother, who had learned them from her mother, going back countless generations. One night, she showed Do-Yun the song of her world's death. They sat together in the dark room, and Yira closed her eyes. Then her scales began to glow. It started slowly, soft violets and blues that pulsed in sad, heavy rhythms. The colors spread across her body, forming patterns that moved like waves. Do-Hyun watched as the story unfolded on her skin. He saw a world of ice and stone. He saw a sun that burned bright and warm. He saw the Velith living beneath that sun, building cities, raising families, creating art. Then the sun began to change. It grew colder, dimmer. The warmth faded from the world. Crops died, rivers froze. The cities went dark. The Velith tried to save their world. They built great machines to capture the last heat of their sun. They dug deep into the planet, searching for warmth, but nothing worked. The cold crept in year after year, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. Finally, they made a choice. They would leave. They would scatter across the galaxy and find new homes. They would survive. But not all of them could go. Ships were few, resources were limited. Some had to stay behind. Yira's mother stayed behind. Do-Yun saw it in the lights. A figure standing on a frozen plain, watching a ship rise into the sky. The figure's scales glowed with love and grief and hope. She was saying goodbye to her daughter. She was telling her to live. The pattern faded. The lights dimmed. Yira sat in the darkness, her scales gray and dull. Do-Yun did not speak. There were no words for what he had just seen. Instead, he moved to sit beside her. He put his arm around her shoulders, feeling the cool roughness of her scales against his skin. She leaned into him, and they sat together in the silence. After a long time, Yira made a soft pattern. It was simple, just 3 colors in a slow rhythm. Thank you for seeing. Do-hyun held her tighter. Thank you for showing me. From that night on, they were no longer just friends. They were something deeper. Do-hyun did not have a word for it, not partner, not lover, not family. It was all of those things and none of them. It was a bond that went beyond species, beyond language, beyond anything he had known before. But not everyone was happy about it. The other humans on the station had noticed Do-hyun's absence. He no longer came to their gatherings. He no longer joined their conversations. He spent all his time with the Velith woman, learning her strange language, walking with her in the gardens, sitting with her in the dark. Rumors spread. Some said he had gone crazy. Some said he was being controlled by her empathic powers. Some said he was a traitor to his species. Commander Baek Jin-soo said the worst things of all. Jin-soo was everything Do-hyun was not. Loud, ambitious, and hungry for status. His match with the Nathari counselor's daughter had made him one of the most important officers in the program. He wore his success like a medal, always making sure everyone knew how well he had done. He hated Do-hyun. He hated that Do-hyun did not care about rank or status. He hated that Do-hyun had chosen a worthless alien and seemed happy about it. Most of all, he hated that Do-hyun made him feel small. One evening, Jin-soo found Do-hyun alone in the station corridor. "I hear you've learned to talk like a lamp," Jin-soo said. His voice was light, but his eyes were cold. "Flashing lights and glowing colors. Very impressive. Maybe you can get a job as a traffic signal when this is over." Do-hyun looked at him calmly. "Is there something you want, Commander?" "I want you to stop embarrassing us." Jin-soo stepped closer. "Do you know what the other species think when they see you? They think humans are weak. They think we'll bond with anything, even the lowest, most worthless creatures in the galaxy. You are making all of us look bad." "I am making myself look like someone who keeps his word." "You are making yourself look like a fool." Jin-soo's voice hardened. "The Velith are nothing. They have no power, no wealth, no future. They're refugees, beggars. And the females are not even pleasant to look at. Dark scales, no voice, those strange eyes. How can you stand to be near her?" Do-hyun felt a cold anger move through him. It was not a hot anger, not the kind that made people shout and lose control. It was quiet and still and deep. "Her name is Yira," he said, "and she is worth more than you will ever understand." Jin-soo laughed. It was an ugly laugh. "Worth? What worth? She cannot give you anything. She cannot help your career. She cannot give you beautiful children or open doors to powerful families. She is nothing but a burden." "She is not a burden. She is a gift." Jin-soo stopped laughing. He stared at Do-hyun as if he had spoken in an alien language. "You really believe that?" he said slowly. "You really think that ugly, silent creature is worth something?" "I know she is." Something dark moved across Jin-soo's face. "Then you are a fool. And when this all falls apart, when you realize what you've given up, don't come crying to the rest of us. You made your choice." He turned and walked away. His footsteps echoed in the empty corridor. Do-hyun stood alone in the silence. The cold anger was still there, sitting in his chest like a stone. But underneath it, there was something else. Certainty. He knew what Yira was worth. He knew what they had together. And he knew that no matter what Jin-soo said, no matter what the others thought, he would not turn away. He went back to their room. Yira was waiting for him, her scales glowing with soft gold. "You are troubled," she said. Her patterns were gentle, concerned. Do-hyun sat down across from her. He looked at her face, the dark scales, the golden eyes, the rough texture that others called ugly. He looked at her, and he saw the most beautiful thing he had ever known. "No," he said. I am exactly where I want to be. Her scales brightened. The gold spread across her skin in warm waves, and in that moment, Do-hyun knew that no matter what came next, he would never regret this choice. Never. It was the largest room on the station, a vast space with high ceilings and wide windows that looked out at the stars. Representatives from a dozen species filled the hall, dressed in their finest clothes and speaking in 100 different languages. Humans mixed with Corvani, Nithari stood beside Dravasi, and smaller groups from lesser-known worlds kept to the edges of the room. This was where the integration program showed its success. Matched couples stood together, smiling and talking, proving to the galaxy that different species could live in peace. Do-hyun did not want to be here. He stood near the back of the hall with Yira beside him. She wore a simple gray robe that covered most of her scales. She did not glow. She kept her lights dim and hidden, trying not to draw attention. It did not work. People stared at them. Some looked away quickly when Do-hyun caught their eyes. Others did not look away at all. They stared openly, their faces showing curiosity, confusion, or disgust. A Velith at a diplomatic gathering was strange. A Velith standing beside a human officer was stranger still. Yira felt their stares. Do-hyun knew she did. She was an empath. She felt every flash of disgust, every pulse of pity. Her scales stayed dark, but he could see the tension in her body. She wanted to leave. "We can go," he said quietly. "We do not have to stay." She looked at him. Her golden eyes were calm, but underneath the calm, he saw the pain she was trying to hide. "I want to stay." She glowed softly. "For you? You do not need to suffer for me." "I am not suffering." She paused. "I am learning." Do-hyun did not understand what she meant, but before he could ask, a voice cut through the noise of the hall. "Lieutenant Park." Do-hyun turned. Commander Baek Jinsu was walking toward them, a glass of wine in his hand and a smile on his face. Behind him, a group of human officers followed like shadows. They were all watching Yira. "Commander," Do-hyun said. Jinsu stopped in front of them. He looked at Yira with a smile that did not reach his eyes. "So this is her, the famous Velith bride." He looked her up and down like she was a piece of furniture. "I must say, the stories do not do her justice. She is even more striking in person." The officers behind him laughed. Yira did not react. Her scales stayed dark. Her body stayed still, but Do-hyun saw the faint flicker of red that crossed her skin. Pain. "Is there something you want, Commander?" Do-hyun asked. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. "I want to understand." Jinsu took a sip of his wine. "I want to understand why one of our best officers has thrown away his career for this." He gestured at Yira with his glass. "The Velith are parasites, Lieutenant, emotional leeches. They feed on the feelings of others. Is that what she does to you? Does she feed on your emotions and make you think you love her?" The hall had gone quiet around them. People were watching, listening. Yira's scales flickered again, dark red spreading across her skin. She was trying to control it, trying to keep her feelings hidden, but she could not. The pain was too strong. "She is not a parasite," Do-hyun said. "She is the most honest being I have ever met." "Honest?" Jinsu laughed. "She cannot even speak. She flashes lights like a broken machine. How can you call that honest?" "Because she cannot lie." Do-hyun stepped forward. "Her language shows everything she feels, every emotion, every thought. It is all there on her skin. She cannot hide the truth, even when she wants to. That is more honest than you will ever be." Jinsu's smile faded. His eyes went cold. "You forget yourself, Lieutenant. I am your superior officer." "And you forget why we are here." Do-hyun's voice rose. He did not shout, but the words carried through the silent hall. "We are here to prove that humans can be more than warriors, more than conquerors. We are here to show the galaxy that we can connect with others, truly connect. Not just make political deals. But you do not want connection. You want power. You want status. You see your bride as a tool, not a person. Jinsu's face went red. How dare you? I dare, because someone has to. Do-hyun looked around the hall. Every eye was on him, human, alien, all of them watching. Look at us. Look at what we have become. We measure our matches by wealth and power. We mock the species who have nothing to offer us. We call ourselves civilized. But we act like merchants, trading people like goods. He turned back to Jinsu. Yira has no wealth. Her people have no power. Her world is dying and she has nothing to give me except herself. And that is enough. That is more than enough. Because she has taught me what real connection means. She has shown me that the value of a person is not in what they can give you. It is in who they are. Jinsu stared at him. The hall was completely silent. Then Jinsu's face twisted with anger. You are a fool, a sentimental, stupid fool. You have thrown away everything for a worthless creature who... She is not worthless. Do-hyun's voice was quiet, but it cut through Jinsu's words like a blade. She is not worthless, he said again, and I will not stand here and let you insult her. Not now, not ever. He looked at the crowd around them. He saw humans and aliens all watching with different expressions: shock, confusion, curiosity. Some of them were nodding slowly. Others looked thoughtful. I will complete the bonding ceremony with Yira, Do-hyun said clearly. I will not request reassignment. I will not walk away. And if that makes me a fool in your eyes, then I am proud to be one. He turned to Yira. Her scales had changed. The dark red was fading, replaced by something else, a soft, glowing gold that spread across her skin in slow waves. Her eyes were bright. Her body was no longer tense. She was looking at him like he was the only person in the room. We are leaving, Do-hyun said to her. Are you ready? She did not answer with light. Instead, she reached out and took his hand. Her scales were cool and rough against his skin. Her grip was firm. Yes. They walked out of the hall together. Do-hyun did not look back at Jinsu. He did not look at the staring crowd. He only looked forward, toward the door, toward the quiet corridor beyond. When they were alone, Yira stopped walking. She turned to face him. What you did, she glowed. The patterns were complex. Gratitude, wonder, love, all woven together in ways he was still learning to read. No one has ever done that for me. Then they were fools, Do-hyun said. You deserve to be defended. You deserve to be chosen. And I will choose you every time, in front of anyone. Her scales glowed brighter. The gold spread across her whole body, warm and strong. She stepped closer to him and placed her hand on his chest, over his heart. You are different, she said. From the beginning, you were different. I did not understand why. I thought you would leave like the others. I thought you would see me and turn away. I could never turn away from you. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she made a pattern he had not seen before. Something new. Something that seemed to glow from deep inside her. I love you, the light said. Do-hyun felt his heart stop. Then it started again, beating hard and fast. He could not make the pattern himself. He did not know how, but he knew how to say it in his own language. I love you too, he said. And there in the quiet corridor, under the cold light of distant stars, they held each other and let the rest of the galaxy fall away. The gathering continued without them. People talked about what had happened. Some mocked Do-hyun, some admired him, some did not know what to think. But one thing was certain. The story would spread. It would reach other stations, other worlds, other species. People would hear about the human who defended his Velith bride. People would remember. And in that moment, something began to change. Slowly, quietly, but real. Do-hyun and Yira had spent months preparing. They had learned each other's customs, studied each other's traditions, and practiced the rituals they would perform together. The Velith ceremony was simple, an exchange of light, a sharing of warmth, a promise made not in words but in colors. The human ceremony was simpler still, vows spoken aloud, hands joined together, a commitment made before witnesses. But there was one more thing, one final step. Yira told him about it on a quiet evening when the station lights had dimmed and they sat together in their room. Her scales glowed with soft violet, the color of deep thought. "There is something I need to tell you," she said, "about my people." Do-hyun waited. "We do not just feel emotions," she continued. "The patterns were slow and careful. We can share memories. Through touch, we can give another person our experiences, not just see them, but live them, feel them as if they were their own." Do-hyun felt something stir in his chest. "I did not know that. We do not do it often. It is sacred. We do not share memories with strangers, only with those we trust completely, only with those we love." She paused. Her lights flickered with uncertainty. "Before we bond, I want to share my memories with you. I want you to know who I really am, everything I have seen, everything I have felt. And I want to know you the same way. I want to understand the life that made you who you are." Do-hyun looked at her. Her golden eyes were watching him carefully, waiting for his response. "You want me to see your memories?" he asked. "Yes." "All of them?" "Yes." He thought about what that meant. He thought about seeing her life from the inside, not just hearing stories, but living them. He thought about her seeing his life too, every moment of pain and joy and loneliness. Every secret he had never told anyone. It was terrifying. It was also exactly what he wanted. "Yes," he said. "I want to do this." Yira's scales brightened. Gold spread across her skin in slow waves. She reached out and took both of his hands. "Close your eyes," she said. He closed them. For a moment there was only darkness. He felt her hands holding his, cool and rough. He felt his own heartbeat, steady and strong. Then the memories came. They crashed into him like a wave, images and sounds and feelings all rushing together. He felt himself fall into them, into her life, into everything she had ever experienced. He was a child on a frozen world. He stood in a field of gray ice looking up at a dim red sun. His mother was beside him, her scales glowing with gentle warmth. She was teaching him to read the lights, showing him how to make the patterns that would become his language. He was older now, watching the sun grow dimmer each year. The crops were failing. The rivers were freezing. His people were afraid. He was leaving. A ship rose into the sky, carrying him away from everything he had ever known. Through the window, he saw his mother standing on the ice below. She was glowing with love and grief and hope. She was telling him to live. He was alone, station after station, year after year. He met humans who looked at him with disgust. He felt their emotions, pity, revulsion, contempt. He learned to expect rejection. He learned to stop hoping. He was sitting in a small room waiting. Another human was coming. Another rejection was coming. He had been waiting for 2 years. He was so tired. Then the door opened, and there he was. The human with the calm face and the steady eyes. The human who bowed to him. The human who asked to learn his language. The human who stayed. The memories shifted. Now Do-hyun saw himself through Yira's eyes. He saw the warmth that came from him, not pity, not curiosity, but genuine care. He felt the way her heart had jumped when he first touched her hand. He felt the fear and hope and wonder that grew in her day after day. He felt her love. It was vast and deep and total. She loved him in a way he had never been loved before. The memories faded. Do-hyun opened his eyes. He was crying. He did not know when he had started. The tears ran down his face, and he did not wipe them away. Yira was watching him. Her scales were glowing with soft, uncertain colors. "I am sorry," she said. "It is too much." "I should not have—" "No," Do-hyun shook his head. "It is not too much. It is everything." He squeezed her hands. He looked into her golden eyes and saw the woman he loved, the child who had lost her world, the refugee who had been rejected again and again, the soul who had finally found someone who would stay. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you for showing me." Her lights flickered. "Now you must show me." Do-hyun nodded. He did not know how to do it. He was not a Velith. But Yira guided him. She told him to think of his memories, to hold them in his mind, to let them flow through their joined hands. He thought of his grandmother. He thought of the small house where he had grown up, the smell of her cooking, the sound of her voice. He thought of the stories she had told him, the lessons she had taught him, the way she had held him when he cried. He thought of the day she died, the empty house, the silence. He thought of the loneliness that followed, the years of going through the motions, doing his duty, never quite fitting in. He thought of the feeling that something was missing, that he was waiting for something he could not name. He thought of the moment he first saw Yira, the recognition, the certainty, the sense that he had finally found what he was looking for. The memories flowed through him, through their hands, into her. When it was over, they sat together in the quiet room. The lights on Yira's skin were pulsing slowly, gold and violet and soft white, all mixed together in patterns he had never seen. "Now I understand," she said. "Understand what? Why you stayed, why you saw me." She looked at him, her eyes bright with tears that her species could not shed. "You were alone, too. You were waiting, too. We found each other because we were both looking for the same thing." Do-hyun nodded. He understood now, too. The recognition he had felt when he first saw her, it was not magic, it was not fate. It was two souls, both searching, both wounded, finally seeing each other. "We are the same," he said. Yes, her scales glowed with warm gold. "We are the same." They sat together as the station turned through space. They did not speak. They did not need to. They had shared everything, every memory, every pain, every hope. There was nothing left to hide. In 1 week, they would stand before witnesses and make their vows. They would promise to stay together, to care for each other, to face the galaxy side by side. But the real bond had already been made. Here, in this quiet room, two souls reaching across the vast distance between species and finding each other. Do-hyun looked at Yira. She looked at him. And they both knew. This was where they belonged. This was home. It was a small gathering. Only those who truly supported them were invited. A handful of human officers who had watched Do-hyun and Yira over the months and come to respect what they had. A small group of Velith refugees who had traveled from nearby stations when they heard one of their own had found a match. A few aliens from other species who were curious about this unusual couple. No politicians, no commanders, no one who saw marriage as a transaction. Just people who believed in love. Do-hyun stood under a tree from Earth, a cherry blossom that had been grown from seeds brought across the stars. Its pink flowers fell like snow in the artificial breeze. He wore his formal uniform, but he had removed all the medals and ribbons. He wanted to stand before Yira as himself, nothing more. And then she came. She walked through the garden in a robe of deep blue, the color of a Velith sky before the cold came. Her scales glowed softly underneath the fabric, patterns of gold and white that pulsed in slow, steady rhythms. Her golden eyes found his and did not look away. She was beautiful. She had always been beautiful. Do-hyun saw that now. Not in the way humans usually meant, not in shape or color or the arrangement of features. She was beautiful because of who she was, because of what she had survived, because of the way she loved without reservation, without protection, without holding anything back. She stopped in front of him. They looked at each other. "Are you ready?" she asked. "I have been ready since the moment I met you." Her scales brightened. She turned to face the small crowd. The ceremony was simple. The Veleth did not have priests or officials. They did not need someone to speak for them. They spoke for themselves. Yira went first. She raised her hands and her scales began to glow. Patterns of light spread across her body, complex and beautiful, telling a story that everyone could see even if they could not understand the words. It was her promise to him, her vow, her commitment. The light said, "I have been alone. I have been rejected. I have learned to stop hoping. But you gave me hope again. You saw me when no one else would. You stayed when everyone else left. I promise to stay with you. I promise to glow for you in the darkness. I promise to love you until my light goes out." When she finished, the garden was silent. The Veleth refugees were glowing softly in response, their way of crying. Even some of the humans had tears in their eyes. Then it was Do-hyun's turn. He could not speak in light. He did not have that gift. So he spoke in words, simple words, from his heart. "When I first met you," he said, "I felt like I was coming home. I did not understand it. I still do not understand it, but I know it is true. You are my home. You are where I belong." He took her hands in his. "I have been alone most of my life. I have done my duty and followed my orders, but I have never felt like I fit anywhere. I always thought something was missing. I always thought I was waiting for something." He looked into her golden eyes. "I was waiting for you." He squeezed her hands. "I promise to learn your language, even when it is hard. I promise to listen to your stories and keep your memories safe. I promise to defend you against anyone who says you are not enough. I promise to love you, not in spite of what you are, but because of what you are. You are the most beautiful soul I have ever known, and I am honored to spend my life with you." Yira's scales were glowing so bright that she looked like a star. The gold light spread from her body into the air around them, warm and soft. They came together. They held each other. And in that moment, they were bonded. The small crowd made noise, humans clapping, Veleth glowing, aliens making sounds of approval in their own ways, but Do-hyun did not hear them. He only heard Yira's voice in light, speaking just to him. "My love, my home, my heart." The ceremony was over. But the story was just beginning. Word spread. It spread from the station to the nearest outposts, from the outposts to the colonies, from the colonies to the homeworlds. The story of Park Do-hyun and Yira, the human who learned light speech, who defended his Veleth bride, who chose love over status, traveled across the galaxy. At first, people did not believe it. Humans did not do such things. Humans were practical. They made matches for power, not for love. But the story was true, and it changed things. Other humans began to look at their own matches differently. Some who had been unhappy started to ask questions. Why did they feel empty? Why did their wealth and status not make them happy? What were they missing? Some of them found answers. Some of them did not. But the questions had been planted, and the Veleth, the forgotten refugees, the species no one wanted, suddenly found themselves being noticed. Other worlds began to offer them help. Diplomats asked about their empathic abilities. Scientists wanted to study their light speech. For the first time in decades, the Veleth were seen as valuable, not because they had power, not because they had wealth, but because one human had looked at them and seen something worth loving. That was what humanity could be. Not conquerors, not traitors, but beings who saw value in those the galaxy had discarded. Do-hyun and Yira made a life together. It was a quiet life, a small home on a peaceful station far from the centers of power. They did not want fame. They did not want influence. They only wanted each other. They walked in gardens. They shared memories. They talked for hours in light and words, learning more about each other every day. They were happy. And sometimes, when they looked out at the stars, they thought about the others who were still searching. The humans who had not yet found their match. The aliens who were still waiting. The souls who had not yet recognized each other. They hoped those souls would find their way. Years later, a young human soldier sat in a hallway, waiting for his assignment. He was nervous. The integration program had matched him with a species that others called difficult. His friends had mocked him. They said he had been punished, but he did not feel punished. He felt something else, something he could not name. He thought about the story he had heard, the story of a human officer who was matched with the least wanted alien in the program, the story of how he had stayed, how he had learned her language, how he had defended her before everyone, the story of how they had found each other. The young soldier took a deep breath. He stood up. The door opened. His match was waiting inside. She was not what humans would call beautiful. She was strange and unfamiliar and different, but when their eyes met, he felt something. Recognition. He stepped into the room. The door closed behind him. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if they would understand each other. He did not know if they would be happy, but he knew one thing. He would not turn away. He would not reject her. He would give her a chance. Because that was what Do-hyun had done, and it had changed everything. Somewhere across the galaxy, in their small home on a quiet station, Do-hyun and Yira sat together as the stars burned outside their window. They did not know that their story had reached this young soldier. They did not know that he was walking into a room and meeting his match for the first time. But they knew that the galaxy was changing. Slowly, quietly, one person at a time. And that was enough. Yira leaned against Do-hyun, her scales glowing with soft warmth. He put his arm around her and held her close. They did not speak. They did not need to. They were home.